Hi guys, welcome back. So it's a beautiful day out here in Hollywood, California. It looks like it's gonna rain. I'm not sure though, but hopefully I can get through this video. I actually had to go to the guy and get them to open the gate to the park because it was locked. I'm like, what's going on? Why is the park locked? And they're like, oh, we have the park, reserved for the kids, and when the kids come, you have to leave. And I'm like, really? I said, I thought it was a public park. And he goes, well, yeah, but we like to keep the adults and the kids separate because sometimes, they have homeless people come and some weird adults come and they bother the kids and they're predators. And I'm like, well, I'm not a predator. I'm not a predator. And, I love kids. So I'm like, I'm just want to sit in the park at the table to do a video. So hopefully I don't get kicked out, you guys. If I do, I'm going to have to find another location to finish this video. But this is a topic that I think I've been avoiding for a while, because no one likes to break the silence, on domestic abuse. Like, who likes to talk about domestic abuse, domestic violence, and stuff like that? It's a very difficult topic to address, on both sides of the table, and this video isn't to attack anyone or try to point fingers at someone or blame someone or, sometimes men who usually are the perpetrators of domestic abuse feel like they're under attack when a woman opens up and talks about her experience with, domestic abuse or domestic violence. So that's not what this video is about. In fact, I'm actually towards the end of the video, if you guys stay till the end, I'm going to talk about the role that the quote-unquote victim plays. And I don't like to use that word victim. I like to try to stay away from those kinds of debilitating labels because I don't think it's empowering, to see yourself as a victim. So I have a different approach. But this topic is very hard for me. I'm going to share some things in this video that may make some people uncomfortable. It may trigger some emotions in both men and women, especially men and women who have experienced domestic abuse. But here it goes. Now, me and my ex, we were dating for 3 years. I met him back in 2014 in New York City. And, we dated from 2014 to 2017. So a lot happened in those 3 years and we were dating. A lot happened. And although we officially broke up in October, the last time I saw him was in December. So December of 2017. So since then, I've been single. And although, it's been 7 months since we've been broken up, some things still impact me. I can't deny the fact that, yes, I'm still impacted by some things that happen in that relationship, And I make this video just to bring awareness to this topic, to this issue, because there is a fine line between, a person who is dominant and a person who is abusive, a person who is controlling, which is usually like one of the biggest predictors of abuse is control. Abusive men who are abusive oftentimes are unaware, of what makes them abusive. So that's what I want to talk about in this video. And again, like I said, this topic is very difficult for me to address. That's why it's hard for me to get the words out, you guys. It's really hard for me to get the words out, and hopefully I can get through this in one video. But there was an incident that happened in my last relationship. By the way, my ex, he's ex-military. I look at him as an upstanding guy, but everybody has their flaws, even including myself. We all have our flaws. He had his flaws, and he's Jamaican, and there's this stereotype about Jamaicans, right? Like, oh, Jamaican men, beat their women. There's a stereotype. right? And I never really wanted to believe that. He's full-blooded Jamaican. Both of his parents were born in Jamaica. So that would make him what, first generation American or second generation American, first generation, because he was the first generation born in America in his family. And unfortunately, some things happen. And like I say, I'm not here to blame, I'm not here to point fingers at anyone. But it's important that I think no matter what side of abuse that you're on, whether you are the victim, so to speak, the person who is abused, or the abuser, it's important that we all take responsibility. Maybe I should take this blazer off. But it's important that we all take responsibility in this situation. And there was this incident that happened in my last relationship that really, I think, was a final straw. It happened out here in LA. We've been living out here since 2016 was when I moved to LA. But the incident happened not too long after we moved. And it was, an afternoon. We were at the house chilling. Not really chilling, though, because, we had a disagreement. We got into an argument. And I remember going to the kitchen. I went to the kitchen, and it's like my back was turned against him. And all I can remember is I was standing, and then I was on the floor. That's what happened. I was standing, and before you know it, I was on the floor. He had took me down to the floor in the kitchen. Hold on, you guys. Like I said, this topic is really difficult for me to talk about, but I'm going to get through this. So, took me down to the floor in the kitchen. And all I remember is I was screaming and fighting, and, it felt like I was losing control because I didn't know if I was going to survive. I was thinking like, okay, this can't be happening to me. I felt like he was trying to kill me, because like I said, I was standing, and then before you know it, my body was on the floor. I was on the ground. He was on top of me. His hand was on my face. I could barely breathe, but I'm moving, I'm fighting, I'm resisting. And I finally was able, I managed to, look at that squirrel. I managed to get up. I managed to get up from the fight, the wrestle, right? Y'all, what is going on? You better not come close to me. It's a freaking squirrel down there. So I got up, and I remember grabbing my phone, and I ran downstairs as fast as I could. What? See, squirrels never usually get this close. I guess he's looking for food. I don't know. That's what he's looking for. And so I grabbed my phone. Now look at this freaking squirrel. I got distracted. As long as he don't come over here, you know what I mean? I don't trust those squirrels. They be having rabies and stuff. Okay, let me finish this. So I grabbed my phone, ran downstairs as fast as I could, because I was trying to dial 911. I dialed 911, and I got a receptionist, right? The 911 operator on the phone. But I was already downstairs, and when I got outside, there was a police car outside. Miraculously, like, how in the hell? It's just, I ran downstairs, and boom, a police car. How could they get there that fast? Here come the kids, y'all. So I might have to find another location because this isn't going to work. because they're gonna be loud anyway, and I want you guys to be able to hear me. So I probably just sit out here in my spot where I usually sit. Let me see. I'm gonna sit right here for now. Okay, let me see, can I get through this? So when I ran outside, I made it outside my building downstairs, and there was LAPD out there, right? Miraculously, it's like there's no way they responded. That was the LAPD that responded to the call, because I barely got a chance to even talk to the operator. Before I knew it, I was downstairs, still on having the phone in my hand, with the operator on the other end, and she's trying to get the story, and I'm like screaming, saying, I'm afraid, and I need help. And I'm downstairs outside, and there's a LAPD car. 3 white LAPD officers get out the car, and that was it. They got out the car. They came up to me, and I was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, obviously I'm not okay. I'm crying, and I'm looking disheveled. My hair is all messed up, And, they was trying to figure out what was happening. It's like, this is a difficult situation that a lot of, women who are abused face, because they don't want to go to the police, and especially being a black woman, definitely don't want to go to the police on this man, on a black man, go to the white man on a black man. That's a very difficult, odd situation to be in. And so I get down there, and they're asking me, they're trying to get the story out of me, and I'm just like, yes, he put his hands on me, and I don't want him to put his hands on me. And at that time, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm angry at him. I'm fearful. I'm scared. I don't know what's about to happen. Sorry about the interruption. So after they get that, they just got that piece of information. My ex, he immediately took off, because he came downstairs with me when I went downstairs. He followed me downstairs, but then he took off. He took off when he saw the police downstairs. He took off and went back upstairs and ran out the other direction. This is another escape route, right? He went out the other exit of the building, and the police came and talked to me, right? They came inside my apartment. It was like, can you tell me what's going on? What's happening? And I say that I was telling my ex, we had gotten into an argument, and then, he put his hands on me. And I was afraid, and I dialed 911, and then that's when I saw y'all. And it was like, well, lucky, we were in the neighborhood. They said they were already in the neighborhood, and they were just turning onto my street when they saw me just run outside the building. Y'all, I think I might have to go relocate. I feel like I need to relocate. Let me see. Let me just take a walk. So, but I know those kids are coming, and they're going to be loud, and I'm going to be too distracted. So they were like, luckily we were in the neighborhood already, right? And I'm like, yeah, I guess, looking back, it's just, I'm still feeling some kind of way about it. Like, I still have cognitive dissonance over this issue, or what happened. But lo and behold, let me see, let's sit over here. Lo and behold, and I have to finish this, you guys, because I have some things I have to address in this video. So give me a second. This is a really, really serious topic, you guys. It's sensitive, near and dear to my heart. And, I just want, like I said, I want to spread awareness on this issue. Because I haven't even talked about it to you guys. Let me see. Okay. Let me just sit right here. All right. So I'm telling them they came into my apartment. They, wanted to get this story, right? And it's like, what's going on? Where did he went? And I was like, I don't know where he went. He ran. And they came in, they were talking to me, these 3 white men, right? And they asking me questions, what happened. I told them the details of what just had happened. And they asking me, do I want to file a report? Like, do I want to press charges? And I told them no, right? I explicitly told them I don't want to press charges. And I know you guys are probably watching like, why? You got to be stupid not to press charges, right? Like, are you insane? Why not press charges? But, love will make you do some interesting things. And so I told him, I said, no, I don't want to press charges. I just don't want him to hit me. I don't want him to put his hands on me. And I want us to be able to work through this, I told the police that. And then they were looking at me. If I wasn't really saying much, I'm sitting up there, with them. I really didn't I didn't feel comfortable saying too much. But they was asking me questions and they wanted to get a story of what happened. And then they took pictures of me, They pulled out the camera. I was like, well, we gotta take pictures. They said, the officer told me that it was out of my hands. It's like, it's nothing that you can do at this point. It's gonna be out of your hands. It's in the state's hands. The state is gonna press charges against him. And not only that, but they are going to put a restraining order out, or order of protection. And I'm like, really? I say, well, I think that may make the situation worse, because that's not what I want. And so they told me it was out. To me, they confused the hell out of me. So the LAPD is going to tell me, they're going to ask me, what do I want to do? It's like, okay, so what do you want to do in this situation? I say, I was just afraid. That's the only reason why I called, because I was afraid. But I feel like, we can come in and talk about it and work things out. Right? And all I really want to see happen in the situation is that we can work things out and that he not lose control like that again on me. And I was like, okay. So I was confused because they asked me, what do I want to see in this situation, right? I'm like, what's the point of asking me, what do I want to see? If you're going to tell me that it's out of my hands, which they told me essentially, that was out of my hands, there's nothing that I can do, and that they were going to take care of it. It was in the hands of the police to take care of it. And that really bothered me. That really bothered me, y'all. You know what? I don't want to make a part 2 to this video, you guys. I really don't, but I'm going to have to, you guys bear with me. I just have to find a better location. Because, see, I thought doing it at the park was good, but it's a really small park. And they said that the camp is getting ready to go out there with the kids. And I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me. And also that I'm not so distracted because I want to get through this. So just bear with me, guys. How are you guys doing, by the way? I actually got class today, so that's why I'm doing this video now early. Because I have class. But this is difficult, you guys. And I'm not finished with the story. There's a lot more that I have to share. But maybe it's not a good idea doing this outside. That's a whole nother part to the story too. Because he lives in this neighborhood, So let me hey, what's up? I'm gonna finish this video, you guys. Just in 2 minutes when I get situated. I'm going to finish it. I just have to get situated. So the police were basically trying to convince me on why I should just listen, you guys. Don't ask no questions. I'm about to close the comment section because y'all distracting me, and it's hard for me to tell this story. I do have a lot to share in this story, in this video. So I know y'all have comments, but I'm just gonna ask y'all, can you hold your comments to the end? I'm talking about dating, the dangers of dating dominant, controlling men. So give me a second. I had to relocate. I'm gonna find another park to go to, okay? So please bear with me, you guys. Give me a second. But the police basically were trying to convince me to press charges, and it got to the point where they were like, it's in the state's hands, you know. It's like, you take the control from my hand and basically say it's in y'all hands. Well, why the hell ask me what do I want to see? I think they were determined anyway. They had, I mean, of course, we all know the police have their objectives and what they are set out to do. So that definitely had a influence in the outcome. Oh, maybe I can do it. Yeah, maybe here. I just want to find a good place that you guys can see me and not too much traffic. I think this might be good. Okay. Is it good? I think this might be good. Let's see. But y'all, this is difficult. Okay. So let me finish this. I need to finish it. The sun is peeking out. Okay, so the police basically were insistent on trying to get me to press charges. You know, that's the direction that they were going in. And I'm telling them no. So when they initially responded to the call, you know, which I don't even think they responded to the call. I just think they were in the neighborhood because it happened so fast. It was a coincidence that the moment I, pick up my phone and dial 911 and I'm downstairs, I go downstairs, it's like, boom, the police meet me downstairs. They're already there. How in the hell could they be there that fast? But LAPD is all around Hollywood. You know, they're all around LA, but definitely in Hollywood, it's a lot of LAPD officers, on foot, they on horses, they in cars, they everywhere. And so, I don't know, maybe they got the dispatch, maybe they heard the 911 call. I don't know how they got there so fast. But like I said, they met me downstairs, and then, they saw me run out, and I'm breathing fast, and I'm scared, and all that. And then, they asked me where he went. And I was like, I don't know where he went. He ran. Apparently, they saw him run. They saw him run back up. So it was clear that something wasn't right, because he ran. He ran. And he ran out the other end of the building. He ran upstairs and out the other side, another exit that he knew about. And the police came in. That's when they were talking to me, and they was trying to get the story. And I was telling them what happened. And they asked me, it was like, is this the first time that this happened? And unfortunately, I'm like, no, it's not the first time that it happened. And I say, in fact, I moved to LA to actually escape from the toxic relationship because I knew the relationship was very toxic. Like, I knew that we just wasn't going to work out. It wasn't working out when we were together, and we had been together for 2 years before I decided to leave New York, and I decided to just pack up and go to the other side of the country because I'm like, I just didn't feel right, staying in New York at the time, especially in that relationship. But he followed me, you guys. Like, I caught myself trying to escape while he was at work. This was back January 2016. I caught myself trying to escape while he was at work. And when I got on the plane, I guess he got home from work and he was like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I'm on a plane actually headed to LA." And why did I pick up the phone? Because he kept calling me. He's like, "Please answer the phone." He was begging me, "Please, please, please." And I gave in, you guys. That's another thing I'm going to talk about towards the end, about the role that the submissive plays. But I gave in, you know, and I picked up this phone and I told him, that I was about to fly to LA. And it ended up that he made plans, and not even, I think it was the same week, he flew out to LA to be with me. That was in January. And then in March, he had made plans. He was working in New York. So he had to go back and close some loose ends in New York, But in March, he had already had his stuff shipped from New York to LA to be with me. Although he knew that I flew, I fled the situation. I fled New York kind of as a way to escape, but he's like, "No, you ain't leaving me," basically. That's the way he's looking at it, right? Let me see. Try to get comfortable. So, fast forward to this situation where, I'm talking to the police, LAPD, and they're like, "Has this happened to you before?" And I'm telling them, that's the reason why I came to LA. Not only that, but yes, it has happened where we were living in the Bronx. And, I was feeling emotional. We were inside, the crib. I was feeling emotional. And I was talking to him, and I was crying. I don't know what it was about, but I was crying about something. And I guess he just was tired. He didn't want to hear what I had to say. He's just like, obviously he didn't want to hear it, because out of nowhere, he jumped up and took his hand over my face and smashed my head down into the bed. I could not breathe, you guys. Like, you talking about some frightening shit, when someone tried to suffocate you, and he's stronger than me. That's the thing. The man is stronger than me, right? And I couldn't breathe, and I'm screaming, and, with the strength that I did have, even though I'm screaming, like I'm trying to let out some screams to save my own life so that I don't die from lack of oxygen, because the brain can only live so long without oxygen. What is it? A couple minutes without oxygen? So yes, my ass is terrified at this point. And I'm screaming, and I finally was able to get up. And he's mad at me because I'm screaming because he's suffocating me with his hand. Like, he's got his hand over not just my mouth, but like over my fucking entire face. I could not breathe, and he's holding me down. He's on top of me. And I'm like, "Why are you on top of me?" But he just snapped. And I was able to escape somehow. And I got up from there, and I ended up in the living room. And he came in there, and I remember, like, he snatched my hair, he snatched one of my dreads out, and it was on the floor. And I look at my dread on the floor, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." And next thing you know, we hear a knock at the door. NYPD is at our front door in the Bronx. And so they say they responded to a call because I guess someone else called. Someone else heard, one of the neighbors, I guess, heard me screaming. And they called the police. The police came out. It was, I think it was it 3 officers or 4? But I know they were Hispanic and they were black. And these men came inside his apartment to see what was going on. And it was like a joke. It was a joke to them, Obviously, I'm in tears, I'm sweating, and I'm breathing fast and scared. And they come in, and it's a show to them. It's a joke to them. One of the officers look at the big screen TV he had on the wall, big ass screen TV, like 80 inches, and they're like, "Oh, nice TV." You know, it's just a joke to them, right? So apparently NYPD, they don't take domestic violence seriously, you know? I guess they see it so much, they're just like, this is nothing to them. So what they ended up doing was taking him around the corner for a walk. I think 2 officers went with him around the corner for a walk. 2 stayed with me inside and talked to me and gave me the report number, and that was it. That was the end of that. That was the end of that. And that was that situation. I told LAPD, you know, fast forward to the incident that happened here in LA. I'm telling LAPD about this incident, and they're like, okay. But I'm like, he's a good guy, you know. I say he's actually ex-military, you know, and of course I love him, you know. And they're like, well, why do you think that he did it? I say, I think he just lost control, to be honest. I think he lost control. He does drink. So obviously alcohol plays a factor in it, you know, and then it happened. So being that he ran that day, right? He ran. The police ended up leaving. At least I thought they left. My ex came back into the apartment. Oh, knocked on the door. Because he left his keys inside. He didn't even have his keys. He knocked on the door. Of course, I opened the door, you know, because he's still living there. And I don't like the lighting, you guys, here. But I opened the door. He came in. And he's terrified of me, y'all. At this point, this man is mad as hell at me, right? Probably about to just go to another park. He's mad as hell at me, you guys. And I'm like, I'm mad because he's mad at me because he don't see that he hurt me, you know? Like, I'm hurt at this point. He's not looking at it as hurt. And that's another interesting dynamic that I'm going to get into. After I tell you guys the backstory, like, we're going to have a discussion about this whole domestic violence and abuse. You know, I really do. I want you guys to input. I want to hear what you guys have to say, you know. Not that I'm ignoring your comments or anything, but I just want to get through this. So this reminds me, next time I'm gonna have to pick a place that is a good location. Which I thought the park would be, but I didn't know that they have camp kids come out. Should have known that though. Somebody go to this other part in a second. Y'all feel free to share your own stories. I'm sure everybody got a story. Everybody got a story to tell. Hold on, you guys. Okay, y'all. We've come to a different park, different area. Now, this is where I'm going to finish this video. I'm actually at the crib. I had to come actually back to my place where I live because seems to be less distractions here than at the park. And let me go ahead and finish this video. Oh my gosh, y'all. The humidity. At least it feels humid to me. All right, so I thought the police had left. And when it seemed like the police had left, right, when they stepped away from my apartment and outside the building, that's when he came back. He came back, knocked on the door. I opened the door. He's come inside. He's upset at me. I'm like, dude, really? But being with the person, I hate when freaking something is in my eye. Ugh. Being the person that I am, right? The submissive woman that I am, which I'm gonna have to tighten up. Oh, I hate that, y'all. Excuse me for a second. Something in my eyelash. But being the submissive woman that I am, I opened the door, and not only that, but, he does have rights to the apartment still. So I opened the door. He comes inside. Let me come out of this, y'all. I gotta come out of this. I open the door. He comes inside. And he's mad at me. He's like, oh, well, you call the police on me. You call the white man on me and stuff. And I'm just like, yes, I did dial 911, but I say, actually, I think that they were already out there, which they said they were. They were already in the neighborhood. That's the reason why they got there here so fast. And I was like, I don't want you to go to jail. And I told them. He's like, what did they say? And I'm telling him that I told them that I didn't want them to take you to jail. That's not what I want, the outcome necessarily that I wanted. So he's afraid, that he's going to go to jail and stuff like that or whatever because the report had been made. And he's like getting on my case, inside. We were in the bedroom at this point. The window was cracked open because I like to get fresh air inside my apartment. And so the window is cracked open. We always have the windows open. And lo and behold, the police are outside my window. Didn't even know. I didn't know. He didn't even know. So he going off on me. And that's when the police automatically come right back in. And, that's when they arrested him. And it was like, yeah, we heard you talking to her. We heard the way that you were talking to her. And then they collected both of our stories. They got a story from him. And they got a story from me. And he really had no defense because he did it. He couldn't deny that he didn't do it. He just let them put the handcuffs on him. He's sitting there, and they're talking to me. It was two officers talking to me, one outside talking to him, and they're asking me, he was like, are you serious? This is, are you sure that he did this? Because there was a situation where a woman had made a false report on one of ours, right? And being that they know that he was ex-military, it's like they're kind of identifying with him somewhat anyway, which I find to be quite interesting dynamic to see the officers identify with a person who's ex-military, even though he just put his hands on me. He just committed really a crime or whatever of domestic abuse, but they began to somewhat, just for a split second, identify with him to say, they brought the situation to say that happened to one of theirs before, in the brotherhood, like in the police force or whatever, and including the military, because the police are paramilitary, which is still part of the government, they all government. So they kind of see that it's all a brotherhood. And they sitting up here looking at me like, you sure you're not just trying to do this to one of ours? And I'm like, no, why would I do that? I'm like, he hit me. And then they even seen, because at the time I had on a tank top. And so they taking pictures of the bruises on my body. Like I got bruises on my face, bruises on my arm, on my thighs. And they took pictures of all of that. And it was like, this is going to the state. The state is going to prosecute because it's out of my hands. And I'm telling them, I really don't want y'all to do this, to be honest. I don't want y'all to do it. But they said it was out of my hands. And so this is, I remember, when they had him outside my apartment in handcuffs, because the other officer was talking to them. And I say, he was like, well, the officer told me to get his shoes. It's like, he has some shoes. And he was like, well, can you take his shoestrings out for him? So because they say you can't wear shoestrings in jail. So I took his shoestrings out, his shoes, and I'm just crying, and I'm just all like shaking. I'm nervous. I'm like, this is some creepy stuff, because not in a million years would I've ever imagined that that would happen in my relationship. Like, I never thought that, you know? And so I'm unstringing his shoes, taking the shoestrings out of his shoes to give to the police so they can give to my ex to put on so they can take him to jail. And my ex looks at me in my eye, dead in my eye, before they walk away. He walks away with them, and he's like, what did he say? His exact words. He said, "Don't let me down." He looked at me and was like, "Danielle, don't let me down." And I was like, damn. You know, I already know what that means. You know, he wanted me to come and check on him. You know, follow them to jail, right? To see what's going on. You know? And I did. As soon as he got the visitation rights and he was booked in, I went up there to visit to see what was going on with this whole situation, this case. He's telling me about court dates that he has. And it just still didn't seem real to me. I felt like it was a dream. Like, I'm like, this can't be real. You know, this cannot be real. But it was, y'all. It was real. It happened. You know, I was shocked, and I'm still kind of in shock. It still has an effect on me, you guys. I'm still shocked by it. And so I'm down there and I'm talking to him, and you know, he's on one side of the glass. It just felt weird talking to him. You know, this glass separating us. The police guards looking at us, you know, monitoring our conversation, and they probably looking at me like, she's a dumbass, you know, this dumb bitch, as y'all like to refer to women, you know, unfortunately, right? And I'm like, actually, I'm not that dumb. I'm very smart, very wise and educated, but that just goes to show no one is immune. It don't matter what race, what status you have, how much money you have. It affects people from all demographics, you know, this issue here. And even the educated ones. And so I'm talking to him, you know, on the phone through the glass and trying to figure out what's going on. He tells me, and I end up finding out that his bond was $50,000. So they expected him to pay $5,000, and he got out like the next day. $5,000 is nothing for him, you know. He paid that shit like it was pennies and got out of jail. Next thing I know, he's back at the apartment. I'm just like, wow, that was fast. You know, I thought that he had certain court dates, but apparently, I think what happened, he didn't really want to tell me when his court dates were, because he didn't want me to show up, and he didn't even want me to have an insight on the case. He didn't want me to know anything about what was going on, right? But the police, I know before they took him, told me that they were going to press charges, and the state was going to press charges. It was out of my hands, essentially. So I do know that much, and they also said that it was a felony charge. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And they also said that they will file an order of protection, which I didn't want them to do none of that. So when I was talking to my ex, you know, even in jail and when he got out, it's almost like it was this secrecy. You know, our relationship had changed at that point, like significantly changed. You know, I felt like it was already declining, but it really took a hit for the worse after that incident happened, where he had got arrested here in LA. And even though he came back and, you know, we were still living together, we went on like as if nothing happened, so to speak. It was kind of odd, you know, after he got out of jail. You know, of course, there was kind of like a slight distance between us, a breakdown in communication, but somehow it was, I guess, only natural for us to come back together and pretend like nothing happened. So that incident happened. It was, I think, Christmas 2016, if I'm not mistaken. That was basically the end of the year that we first moved to LA. Christmas 2016 that happened. Do you know the following year, 2017, which was last year, um, around Valentine's Day, like he surprised me with a trip to Las Vegas, went to a really expensive resort and paid for everything. That wasn't the best trip. That's a whole nother story. It's like some shit went down even then. And it was just, y'all, this, I went through a lot. I only talk about bits and pieces of what happened. This don't even compare to really what really went down. It's a lot of stuff went down that I can't even fix my mouth to say, because it's just hurtful and painful. And like I said, I'm not trying to make this video to portray him as this evil creature or a bad person, because he has a good side to him, but he also has his ugly side, his bad side, and apparently it's still affecting me. So we took the trip to Vegas, to my surprise. I didn't even know, but he planned everything in advance, and it was just like, we going to Vegas, just out of nowhere. Like, we going to Vegas. He ain't asked me no questions or nothing, just told me we're going to Vegas. He had already had it planned. We went there for several days. Vegas is a nice place, but the experience that I had there with him wasn't so nice. So that was that. And as I said, like 2017, our relationship just basically took a decline for the worse. And in October, he moved out because he had to move out. It just got to the point where we couldn't go on like that for too much longer. He had to move out. Because I think what it was, I began to step up. I began to reclaim my rights. I began to take back the power that I had given him. Slowly. It's like after he had got arrested, which was like the unspeakable thing that neither one of us saw coming, the dynamic between us began to change. I began to assert who I was and began to reclaim that, who I was. And it felt good, you guys. I'm not even going to lie. It felt good saying that, what, I have a right to protect my body. I have a right to not allow someone to abuse me psychologically, control me in certain ways that I want to be controlled. And there's a catch-22 that I'm going to get into in a little bit towards the end of the video, talking about my responsibility and parts of my character that kind of contributed to this situation. But in October, we separated, and he didn't go far. When he moved out, and I think he did it because it was part of the consequence. It was part of the legal action that the state had taken. He had to go, I think, for his own safety, for his own freedom, for his own right. Like, he had to move out in October. What was that? September, I think. September is when he moved out. December is when we officially kind of broke it off. But even though he moved out, he didn't go far. He moved like right around the corner. He still lives in Hollywood. Amazingly, he lives right around the corner from me. And I'm thinking, okay, we're broken up, And it was like more of a mutual decision because it just wasn't a healthy relationship. But he decides to go right around the corner. And he showed me his apartment out of the blue, even though we went through that period between September and December. We were separated. He had his own place. He was really excited about it because he came back and he, invited me over. Even though we were broken up, it's like he was still trying to create a friendship with me, right? Still trying to nurture a friendship. And I was too, I guess, because I fed into it. He popped up as he always does. He never calls. He always just pops up, because legally he still has access. Even though he moved out, it's like his name is still on the lease. Because when he moved to LA with me from New York, when he came after I did, he took over the lease and was paying everything, His name is on the lease. And so he was trying to nurture this real friendship, right? And invited me over to his place. And I'm like, okay, nice. He's telling me, how much it is. Because even the place where I live, where we both live together, I pay 1,800. It's pretty, pretty pricey, I guess. And he was telling me, he found a place around the corner for 2,500, right? And it's a little bit more modern and newer. And he was, happy and surprised and excited about it. He wanted to share it with me, right? And so I'm like, okay. And I went over there, which I guess I shouldn't have. I was talking to my therapist about it. She was like, you probably shouldn't have went over there. I'm like, okay, but I wanted to see, his new place. And he's like a fashionable guy, right? Really, really nice place. There's this big ass 100 and I think 50-inch screen, big ass fucking projector TV and his shit. Like, really nice place. And I was giving him his props. It's like, okay, it's good to see that you're doing good because we hadn't talked for several weeks, right? So he was just giving me an update, showing me an update. I'm like, okay, cool. And everything was good, right? It seemed like we were good. And then, I went back to my place and we kind of went a few weeks without talking because I just felt like we just don't need to be talking, right? And he invited me to his place. It was December last year, December 2017. Invited me to hang out. And I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't think nothing of it. We chilling, we vibing. Go over to his place as friends, right? I'm like, okay, we friends, so what I do shouldn't offend him. And at the time, I was kind of exploring my options. And like I said, even though I've been separated from him since December 2017, like I literally have not physically dated someone. I've talked to guys. I've done like the online dating and chatting like online and some phone conversations, but nothing like, really substantial, right? Because I cut them off. I realized that relationships, if they're not going to work, I try to nip them in the bud early on, And I've even shared with you guys a few guys that I only met two guys face to face, And one of them was LAPD officer. This was after, my breakup with my ex. And the other one was this, high profile investment guy. He's also a lawyer. Who lives up in the hills, and he invited me to his place, but I just didn't feel good vibes, right? So I really kind of just been sticking to myself and not really doing the dating scene because it's just not my thing right now, right? And so I also been making videos, as you guys see. I post videos about my perspectives on dating and just my subjective experience, right? Just sharing my subjective experience and being open and transparent. And you guys know I made a video about dating white men versus black men. What's the big difference? Okay, do you know that when I went to visit him in December 2017, we were chilling, vibing, watching this TV show. Out of nowhere, he got triggered by something that happened in the TV show, because it was a TV show of a couple, and he turned to me and was like, oh yeah, about that video that you made. I'm like, what video? The video you talking about white men and black men. I'm just like, I knew what he was talking about. I'm just like, are you serious? When I say this man switched, like we were chilling, having a good time, and he actually was drinking. Because y'all know Jamaicans like to drink. That's just the thing that they do. A lot of them drink, and they have a high tolerance for drinking. It's like a cultural thing, unfortunately. He was having his vodka, and we was chilling. Like, chilling, laid back, no problems at all. And this thing, out of nowhere, he made that statement confronting me about my video, and then he jumped up. And then it just started to escalate. I can see that he was getting angry and bothered, and I'm telling him, okay, we're not together. Why does it matter, if I'm interested in dating white guys? Even though I haven't, but still, why does it matter? Why does it concern you so much? And then you could tell he was just, got up under his skin. And so out of nowhere, like, he came and he went into a beast mode, and he made this face and balled his fist, which I never seen him make a fist, but he balled his fist, and like he was about to hit me, right? And so I did this, because I'm scared, like I'm reacting, and I'm scared, and I'm just like, okay, this ain't gonna work. And we were outside on the balcony, and it's like almost as if he kind of trapped me. The hell? What is that? It's almost as if we were on his balcony, and what was he doing? Okay. We were on his balcony, and it's almost as if he was trying to trap me on the balcony, like didn't want me to leave, because he know that I was getting ready to go beeline for the door, because I already can tell, like, a person, he's that mad, it ain't no sense in staying there, like, for what, right? The idea was that I come over and hang out, we have a good time, but he got triggered and started to think about the video that I made, and he just went off. And so I'm like, I said, get out my face, and then he kept me trapped on his balcony. He wouldn't let me leave. He was all up in my face and making threats, and I'm crying. That's obviously what he wanted to see, right? So I break down and started to cry, and then, I was like, I confronted him though. I stood up to him, which I felt good. I was like, you would never do this to, I never seen you stand up to a white man like this, face to face. I understand that a lot of your anger and frustration comes from racial oppression, which it does. That's the truth. He cannot be mad at one person. He cannot be this mad at me. A lot of pressures of black men, the anger that you see, they just take it out on their women. But a lot of them, it's they dealing with the pressures of society, right? Even though a black man can be having a decent income, which he has, financially stable, which he is, he can still be feeling pressures from white supremacy. And I think that's his experience, which will always be, because he's a black man and he's very conscious of what's happening. And ironically, that's why I kind of joke when you guys think that it's so cute that, you guys think that me and Dr. Umar Johnson will make a cute couple, and you guys just think it's just so cute when I talk about him. But it's ironic that it was my ex who actually introduced me to Dr. Umar Johnson. I never met Dr. Umar Johnson personally face to face, but it was my ex who turned me on to the Hidden Colors series, which features Dr. Umar Johnson. And that's when I actually began to watch his work and fell in love with his work and began to study him. So that's kind of ironic, but when I say he flipped off, and I stood up though. I was on a balcony. I was like, you would never stand up to a white man like that. I had never seen you do that to a white man. And I know that's where a lot of your anger stems from. Now, he'll make comments to white men on the street. I've seen him do that, like, which would kind of annoy me. Like, out of nowhere, he'll be like, cracker, just kind of starting stuff, But when I say stand up to a white man, like, I never seen him get into a fight with a white man, but he seemed like he already had put his hands to me previously, and like he was about to do it then, And when I said that, it's like that's what stopped him, and he stepped back, and I was able to leave his apartment, and it was nighttime. I just walked home because, like I say, we live walking distance from each other, because he didn't want to go any farther away than where he is now, from me, apparently, when he moved out. So that's that. And you would think that would have been that, right? Like, that's December and that's that, right? But no. Since then, I have been seeing him. He would, like, I don't know if he's stalking me or what, but I go places throughout Hollywood, whether it's going to a restaurant or, I'm going to get on the train, and I see him. Like, how can we, like, cross each other that much, I mean, I know we live in the same neighborhood, but to me, it seems too much of a coincidence. And not only that, but he will pop up at my door in the middle of the night, out of nowhere. Like, that's when he'd pop up and knock on my door. It's like this psychological thing he has over me, And just a couple weeks ago he did it, popped up at my door, and I'm just like, what do you want? What is it? And he's just like, he apologized. It was like, I'm sorry. But he's a man of very few words, and he has a smile on his face. He'll be like sitting outside and like, I'm sorry, and smiling and looking at me up and down. It's like, oh, you're beautiful. And it's just, trying to rekindle things, right? And I'm just like, no, this isn't gonna work, right? This isn't gonna work. But in his mind, I don't know. In his mind, it's like he thinks it is. He thinks that he has that much control that it is going to work. And it wasn't just physical abuse, it really was psychological. And like I said, I'm attracted to dominant men. Being that he's a dominant man, he has certain traits that turn me on, yes, but a little bit, anything, too much of anything can be a bad thing, which is what I'm going to talk about. So psychologically, he would always say, you're mine, you belong to me, Danielle. You ain't going nowhere. And if you do try to leave, I'm going to come find you. I always say that. Like, that's his line. And I remember we would be laying in bed, even when we were staying in the Bronx, in New York, and even out here in LA. And he would listen to what he say, y'all. This is what get me, like his line of thinking. This is controlling men. Control can be a good thing, but it can be a bad thing, if it goes unchecked, right? So we'll be laying in the bed. Like I said, this was in the Bronx and even in LA. And I usually wake up before him, right? Because, I don't know, men seem like, I guess, sleep later than women. But I'm an early bird. So I get up in the morning before him. And I'll get up to go use the restroom. I'm just going to use the restroom. And he'll wake out his sleep, turn over and be like, Danielle, where you going? I'm like halfway to the bathroom. Where you going? I'm like, I'm going to use the bathroom, Daddy. And then he's like, all right, go and come right back. Now, how the hell you go from sleep to waking up to see what I'm doing? And not only that, but trying to dictate and control what I'm doing, right? He'll be like, all right, go to the restroom and come right back. And I'm like, it ain't like we live in a huge ass house. It ain't like I'm going that far, But even just going to the restroom, like, all right, go and come right back. And that would be when we'll be laying in the bed, like, in the mornings. And not only that, but even on the couch. We can be like on the couch, sitting down, watching TV, right? Or just hanging out on the couch in the living room, and I'll go to the restroom. And he'd be like, where you going? Where the hell else am I going? Where you going? I go to the restroom. All right, go and come right back. I'm like, I'm just going to the restroom. I don't care. Go and come right back. I'm like, okay. So here's the part of the video where I talk about the submissive's role, the victim's role, the abused role in contributing to this thing here. Y'all, why the hell I just got scared and thought that was my ex? Because this man just walked out. His head is kind of shaped like my ex, but that's definitely not him. I'm like, what the fuck? See that? See that? So, the submissive's role, right? Because everybody plays a role in this. And so, I think the role that I play, obviously, is my desire. And he knew that. Like, when we first met, I expressed to him that I'm interested in the BDSM lifestyle. I consider myself a submissive. I'm very much attracted to dominant men. He knew that. Now, he didn't know much about BDSM, though. So I kind of introduced him to the BDSM lifestyle and gave him the insight on that. Because he knew nothing about BDSM. But he did know that he's a dominant man. And that's just common amongst, in the culture, in Jamaican culture, like most Jamaican men are dominant. They're very aggressive, too. So I fell for that. I definitely... He swept me off my feet easily, with that, right? And the fact that he's very caring and nurturing, like, he just take care of me, although I make my own money. I'm in school working towards my PhD to become a licensed psychologist, a clinical psychologist. And he said he supported that, but at the same time, he's like, you don't have to work. He's like, he made it optional. So dominant men have certain traits that attract submissive women. It's like they fit together like a glove. And submissive women have a desire to give up their power to a man. That's what turns a submissive on, being able to relinquish that power. Dominant men get turned on by being able to take control and dominate a woman, to be in control, to have power over her, not just physically or sexually, but psychologically, you know? So that's how our relationship was able to maintain itself. I think where it goes wrong is that when a person does not check themselves, which I made a video about this yesterday actually, about the dangers of dating dominant narcissistic men. Because certain traits within a person, certain character flaws can make one more susceptible to abusing an individual, to abusing the privilege which that individual has bestowed upon you if we are not careful. And submissives, yes, we do feed into that. Victims of domestic violence, they become victims because it's something about their personality that makes them vulnerable to dominant men, aggressive men. And those aggressive men, just like anything else, it's like if you give a person an inch, they take a mile. They abuse the privilege which they have. Because a lot of times people aren't self-aware. Self-awareness is so important. That's why, like I said, it's not about attacking people, And if it was up to me personally, I don't really think that a lot is leaves falling out of the tree, but a lot of dominant and aggressive men or abusers, I don't think that they're criminals, to be honest. I don't look at it from a criminal perspective. I know a lot of y'all be like, oh, they need to go to jail, lock him up. You shouldn't have no sympathy for him. He's a bad person. But no, I can't say he's a bad person because I know him. I know the other side of him. He's not a bad person. He has those bad traits, certain behaviors that get out of line. And not only that, but it's a system that is at work, so a dom can only be as dominant as submissive allows him, gives him power to. That's why when victims of domestic violence are in treatment, the therapist works with the victim to empower them, to give them assertiveness skills, to teach them how to be more assertive, because there is a dynamic between that at play. Anytime you see abuse in a relationship, there is a special dynamic at play. It's like a seesaw. It takes two. They don't operate independently from each other. They operate together. So when you see that there is abuse and there's, an excessive use of force or dominance by a man in a relationship, better believe that woman plays a significant role in that. That's the reason why the targeting behavior for therapists and working with submissive women or vulnerable women who fall victim to domestic violence is giving them assertiveness skills, And not only that, but trying to, I guess sometimes they go psychodynamics. They try to uncover these childhood scenarios, these situations that they may have experienced as a child that have made them into a person who, I guess, needs to be in a situation where a man is taking control. But sometimes that's not necessarily always effective, because not every woman necessarily had an aversive childhood experience. Some of us have, I talked to you guys about mine and how, yes, I did experience childhood abuse by my mother. So I know that definitely may play a role in why I am attracted to men who are abused. Not only that, but why I even like to play the role of a masochist, a woman who gets off of, on pain, receiving pain for pleasure, It's a psychological thing, you guys. I made a video on that. Do masochists feel pain? And the whole thing about pain, how women, we like the pain, but for us, the pain is pleasure. So it's a very complicated issue, and that's the reason why I was trying to explain to the officers that no, I don't want to see him go to jail, and that I know I take responsibility in it. No, I wouldn't say that I made him hit me. I can't make a person hit me, but at the same time, I feel like certain aspects of my personality, which I made a whole video on that yesterday about personality and how hard personality is to change. A person's personality is who they are. So to try to go in and try to make me more of a different kind of woman than I am, a less submissive woman, like, I don't know, it's very hard because I think that's just who I am at my core. Now, looking back and being self-aware of what happened and my own role in it, I can definitely look out for certain things, right? Like when you've been through something, you should make you more aware, of what not to do or what to do differently. That's the thing. So going forward, like, yes, I'm very careful. That's probably the reason why I'm still single, because it's not that I haven't met, eligible guys, but it's certain things that I see within men that trigger me. And that's why I'm getting ready to end this video. But it does bring me back to this question that someone had about me dating Dr. Umar Johnson, and they mentioned how, oh, if you want to date Dr. Umar Johnson, they said Dr. Umar Johnson likes women who don't talk, like don't tell his business, right? And I find that to be quite interesting, that comment that person said. Because as I was saying, the reason why I'm very careful about who I date is because certain things I see in men trigger, like it's triggers for me. The millionaire guy who I was talking to, I don't even consider it dating, but I was getting to know him and talking to him, who has his mansion in Hollywood Hills. I was turned off by him because I was triggered by the alcohol. He had made drinks for himself and myself, and he offered me to drink, and I can smell it, and smelling the alcohol on his breath, it reminded me of my ex, right? Which is a negative memory at this point. It's like, it's a negative association. Just smelling the alcohol, I'm just like, I definitely, what's up with these bees, y'all? These bees love me. But just in smelling the alcohol, like, on his breath, that was a negative trigger for me. And I'm just like, no, this isn't a guy I want to date, because it reminded me of my ex, because my ex, he liked to drink. So that was that. And when y'all bring up Dr. Umar Johnson and you begin to talk about how you say, oh, well, Dr. Umar Johnson, he likes a woman who is silent and doesn't tell the business. And the reason why I say I find it quite interesting, because number one, much love and respect to Dr. Umar Johnson, but I'm like, Dr. Umar Johnson be telling his own business. So I find it quite interesting that some of you guys have noted that Dr. Umar Johnson doesn't like to date a woman who tells his business, but meanwhile, he kind of puts his own business out there. Even alongside that, I also think, it makes me think, because it kind of, like I said, honestly speaking, you guys, Dr. Umar Johnson reminds me of my ex in many different ways, right? Because my ex, he's very secretive. My ex doesn't even have social media. Like, my ex does not have social media. Many of y'all don't even know his name because he's just as secretive and private, and respecting his privacy, I would not post parts of our relationship on social media, Even this, I feel kind of weird talking to you guys about, but only because I'm raising awareness on this social issue. This is something that a lot of women go through, So this is something also that empowers women when they're able to talk about their experiences, and not necessarily feel ashamed about it, but to be able to speak about it boldly, not pointing fingers, but taking responsibility also for the role that you play in the situation. And seeing that, yes, people have expressed that Dr. Umar Johnson is this guy, this man that likes to be silent. It does kind of trigger a memory in me with my ex, and I'm like, my ex was like that. You know, he had this thing where it was just like secrecy, you know, which don't get me wrong, secrecy is important, especially when it comes to different organizations, certain missions that you're doing. You don't tell people your business. I tell authors all the time, business owners, like, you don't tell people your vision that God has given you. You have to know what to put out there and what to keep sacred and what to protect, you know? So, again, like I said, I find it quite ironic because Dr. Umar Johnson is not even secretive about a lot of things in his personal and even professional life. You know, he's kind of really transparent. But he expects, it's interesting that even though he's not that secretive, like, he expects the woman to be very silent about their relationship. And I think I even saw one of his videos where he said that he don't want the woman even talking to her family about the relationship. It's like, you know how y'all women like to go and talk to y'all family and da da da. And that, you know what, that triggered something in me, reminded me of my ex. Not that my ex explicitly told me not to talk to my family, right? You know, even though my like me and certain members of my family had been distant before my ex, so he had really nothing to do with that kind of relationship. Nobody can come in between me and my family. We were already distant to begin with, certain members of my family anyway. But even just thinking back to my relationship with my ex and how I remember talking, like, my mom would call me, right? And even my dad would call me on the phone when I was living with my ex. And my ex would look at me, you know, like, who is that? And I would be telling him, this is my mom, you know, it's my mom. But he's like all over me as if I'm talking to a man or something. Like, you know, kind of displaying signs of controlling behavior, and not only that, but driven by insecurity, you know? Because I'm like, okay, if you already know I'm talking to my mom or even my dad on the phone, like, you don't have to be so uptight. But he would still be feeling kind of insecure and like over me. And I'm like, dude, this ain't even a guy I'm talking to. So when you find out that it's not a guy, most people relax, you know. Women do it too, you know. Women, when their guy friend or husband get a phone call, it don't really have to do with security. Sometimes it's based on insecurity, but a lot of women just do it because they just want to make sure that another woman coming up in that picture, right? So they'll even listen and see, okay, well, who he talking to? Who is that on the other end of the phone, you know? And then, but when they find out, okay, oh, that's just his cousin, or that's just his family, then they relax, right? But not my ex. Is like he would be uptight, and I wonder, you know, sometimes it made me wonder, like, why is he so uptight when I'm talking to my mom and my dad? Like, as if he think that I may try to tell them something bad about him, which I never went to my family and told them anything bad about him, but that was his concern. And it seems to be Dr. Umar Johnson's concern with the prospective woman that he's gonna date, you know, like, that's one of his biggest fears is like, you don't want to date a woman or fall in love with a woman, and being that he's a public figure, he has a lot of interest to protect, and things that he's built he needs to protect. He is fearful that a woman may come into his situation, his circle, and disrupt that and dismantle what he's built. So I get that, right? But then hearing him say that, oh, well, he don't like how women go talk to their mothers and their sisters about this, and you know, that's what goes on in the household of the husband and wife, should stay within their household. It shouldn't be shared. So I don't know. I feel like I can see where he's coming from, but it just reminds me of certain things, like my ex, certain positions that my ex would say, you know. And this is pretty controversial because I know some of y'all probably agree and say, well, you know what, certain things should not be shared, which I believe that, you know, because personally as a woman, I don't want to date a man or marry a man who goes back and tells his mama everything. You know, what I feel like what goes on in our relationship should be sacred within our relationship. But that's not to say that everything is just private and you can't just have this relationship with your family too. It's like, why can't we all have a relationship, you know, where there is a relationship between the husband and wife, and their family is, you know, part of that. But it concerns me, and I feel like that could potentially be a sign of abuse, because if a person is trying to control another person to the extent that they don't even want them sharing any information. They're just like, not that I don't want you sharing negative stuff, but I don't even want you sharing nothing. Absolute everything that happens in this relationship is going to stay in this relationship, and I want you sharing absolutely nothing, nada, with no one, absolutely no one. That is like, it limits the person, that puts them into this cage almost, you know. So going forward, it's definitely something to be mindful of. We know everybody has their own preferences on what they look for in a mate. They have their right to choose and they have their reasons for it, but it's just certain things that you guys say. It does, especially when it comes to um, relationships. Like, it reminds me of certain things that I experienced in my previous relationship. And I asked myself, I'm like, even though I made it a joke, like me dating Dr. Umar Johnson, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what that will look like, to be honest. I don't know. I think he's a very great leader and he's doing great work in the black community. I really support that 100%. Because I can see his heart and I share his videos of his work that he's done with the youth. Like, it really motivates me and inspires me, and I like his position that he has with respect to a lot of social political issues that are affecting the black community. So much respect to him. But moving forward, when it comes to dating can be complicated, man. It can really be complicated. And unfortunately, it's like they say, history repeats itself. There's a pattern of this kind of stuff that you see in relationships, and I definitely don't want to end up in another relationship where I ain't no victim. I don't consider myself no victim. I'm a survivor and I'm strong. And I don't consider, my ex as a bad person or a monster, like, I have nothing but love for people, man. I see him, I'll give him a hug, but I know that there are certain boundaries that need to be put in place because there has to be a certain kind of understanding, and it's about safety. And at the end of the day, you guys, men, you guys are stronger than women, women fear for their lives, and you want to tell and control what a woman shares with other people, and you want to say if she can't, talk, you isolate her from her social network of friends, and then you take control over her psychologically, emotionally, physically, and then that control you abuse and it gets out of hand and you lose control. You do something very harmful to her. When men lose control, you're not even aware the harm that you're causing. You smuggling a woman, restricting her airflow so that she cannot breathe, she cannot get oxygen. It happened. A lot of, unfortunately, these freak accidents happen. Women die. The man is feeling guilty and ashamed, like, oh my gosh, I just killed her. He got so much guilt and shame on him, he take a gun and kill himself because he can't even live with that. That's why I want you guys to reframe the way you see abusers, because they're not criminals. This is a mental health issue. That's just like narcissistic people who are controlling, people who are manipulative. This is a mental health issue that should be taken with care, you guys. That means we don't attack them, you don't judge them. You judge the behavior, but you don't have to put them into hell. But that's not going to fix the situation. Locking them up in a building, in a prison for many years, that ain't gonna make them, that's not gonna correct the behavior and make them less aggressive and less violent. We got to figure out what drives a man to lose control over something that he loves so much. Why is it that a man feel like he need that much control? There's nothing wrong with having a certain degree of control, but what is it that a person needs excessive control? So much to the point you're willing to take someone's life. And people wonder why women like myself get on here and we open up and talk about this, because a lot of times it's just for our own safety. Why do women make police reports? They're like, oh, you snitching, you telling the police. We can cover our own ass. But guess what? My family way in Florida. I'm out here in California by my goddamn self. Some shit happened to me. At least y'all will know. At least y'all will know it wasn't suicide. At least you will know who did it and what was behind the death, it won't be this freak surprise that, oh, somebody get killed. Because that's why women break the silence, so that number one, they protect themselves so that it's out there, but number two, to protect other women, to empower other women, to prevent these things from happening. Because we just keep everything hush hush and be like, you know what, don't talk about it. It just keeps happening and it gets worse. For many years, like, I felt ashamed to talk about it, but it feels so much free. And yes, it pisses him off. I'm pretty sure he's probably going to watch this video. I'm not making this video for him though. I'm making it for you guys and for myself, but I'm sure he's going to watch this video and feel some kind of way. And my only hope is just that we all get help. I'm in therapy right now, working on my own shit. And I encourage everybody to do the same. Go to therapy, work on your own shit. It's about building relationships. The whole thing is this. We want to build a community, the Black community up, but we have to build ourselves up first. We have to build relationships up. We can't even come together as husband and wife, as man and woman. How the hell we gonna build up a community? It starts within ourselves. We gotta check ourselves first. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video, but I thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Say a prayer for you, girl. I'm strong. That's the only thing I know how to be, is be strong. Much love to everybody out there. Peace.